Hey, everybody, welcome to the Tesla Life, episode 23 for October 4th, 2017. My name is Russell Frost. I am your host for this evening, and lucky for me, I have two of my very best Tesla friends here with me for you. That was sort of like a Prince song, except nowhere near as cool. So let's introduce them and get that started. The man laughing at me right now is our man in Canada. He is Mr. Mark Coughlin.
You just never miss an opportunity to do the hand signals.
I like that one.
That's fantastic. That's great. That's great. Well, welcome everyone to the show, and don't let Russell hypnotize you. So
I'm here to
look deep into the camera.
Hear my voice, you'll thought. Deeper. Thank you, Tony. That's good. And speaking of the man with the magic fingers, Mr. Tony Schaefer.
Oh, that used to be my nickname in high school, but
let's not go there.
Yeah, and that was an absolute lie. So, hey everybody! I want to wish Mark and everyone north happy first day of hockey season day.
Absolutely.
Oh no!
Is it a national holiday? Did you get the day off work?
Yep. Nobody works for the whole week.
Oh, no. Seriously, it's hockey season.
Just started. Yep.
Just started. The Maple Leafs and the Winnipeg Jets.
Oh no! So does this mean you and Tony are going to be arguing about hockey for the next 9.5 months?
It starts again. Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, it is on. Yeah.
Okay. Well, there it is. It is what it is. And Mark, I'm sorry. Did you say that Thanksgiving is Monday?
Thanksgiving is Monday here in Canada. Correct.
Happy Thanksgiving to all of our Canadian viewers and listeners. Coming up on Monday.
Coming up on Monday. Yep.
Since we won't see you before then. Have a good one, eh?
It will do. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, we do have some news this week. Oddly enough, that's what we're here for. So let's get started. One of the things that I wanted to talk about was the announcement that the Tesla Supercharger network has hit 1,000 stations worldwide. One of the goals for this year, of course, it was a bigger goal, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But the truth is, there's a new supercharger station. It's in Franklin Park near Pittsburgh, and that was the 1,000. That's a really bad word. 1,000 station, and a total of 6,934 supercharger stalls. And that's pretty damn impressive.
Yes, it is.
I thought for sure the 1,000th station would have shown up at Evan's house. Just down the road.
Elon just kind of hooked him up on that one. It wasn't the public. It's the only one we know with a supercharger station in his front yard. That should be like a Tesla gift.
That would be like it's like a referral gift. Yeah. You get a supercharger in your front yard.
Yeah, why not, right? I mean, who doesn't want a supercharger in their front yard?
And if you tip the installers properly, the neighbor will be paying for the electricity.
Yes.
That I like. That's a good idea. That's a very nice idea. So, you know what? Congratulations to Tesla for doing what no other car company has done, which is build a global network of charging stations for their electric cars. We can argue right or wrong. We can argue whether or not they're hitting all the goals and whatnot. Tesla had a very ambitious goal of hitting 10,000 10,000 superchargers by the end of the year. They're about 3,000 shy of that. Is that going to happen? You know what? In a sense, who cares? I don't think there's any question that Tesla's committed to deploying these stations and getting them out there. So I don't know that saying, hey, Tesla missed this. They said they were going to do this, and they didn't. I'm not sure that that's...
Doesn't even really apply, does it?
Yeah, I mean, does it seem like I'm being too nice to Tesla?
No, not at all. Because this is something that they have built part of their reputation on. This is something that is one of the pillars of how they sell their cars. And I think, with the ramp up that's going on with the number of cars sold, they've shown us that they are committed to keeping this asset growing with the number of cars. So kudos to them. I am glad to see that they are expanding this network continually all throughout the year.
Now, I know we've talked about this previously, but do either of you remember what was decided to be the number of public chargers, or what is it? The number of cars a single public charger can support. Do you know what I mean?
Right. And no, I don't know that number.
Because I wanted to say it was, at least like 6 to 1, 6 cars per charger, or maybe even higher. Knowing that people will charge at home and whatever. And yeah, I mean, to Russell's point, we could say that they wanted 10,000 supercharger stalls and they only have 7,000. But at the same time, we look at, well, how many Teslas are on the road to use them? How big of a population can they support? I still want to believe that they can support a larger population than is currently on the road. So
Sure.
they're still ahead of the game.
Oh, I think so.
Yeah.
I think, if anything, part of the reason they're not farther along with that is probably because they're looking at doing a lot of backfilling, reinforcing these urban areas, these high density Tesla ownership areas, so that that takes away from their effort to expand the network, as it were.
Right.
It's still adding stations, you know what I mean? It's not like that goes away, but it is different. The article that I was reading here from, it says there are currently 59 stations under construction, 27 more in permitting phase. And again, keep in mind a station could have 7 or 8 stalls. It might have 20 stalls.
Or 40.
Yeah, the super stations they're talking about.
Right. That's the big. You're right. The superstation, which I can't wait to see. I just can't wait.
Yeah.
I want to go into the Tesla cafe or something.
Get your toast with a tea burnt on it. Yes.
You know, I mean, okay? I mean, sure.
Do you think your food comes at you at a level 2 cooking? Is it like twice as fast? Do you have to just shovel it down really fast?
They actually have your sandwich ready before you order it.
There you go. There you go.
Those
That's
Jimmy
awesome.
John slobs are slow. Okay?
Right.
The Tesla cafe. Well, speaking of slobs that are slow, and I'm not sure how that dovetails into this next story, Mark has a story about a spy shot.
Yes, but just before we do that, just going to throw up a map so everyone can see of the superchargers. So you can see an up-to-date as they fill into different corridors. But you're right; it's the urban stuff that is maybe where they need to fill in, like as Russell mentioned, backfill.
Are the traffic cones stuff that's being built right now?
Right; those indicate they're under construction currently.
That is an amazing map. Look at that map for just a second and know that. And this is so weird. I mean, you know what? If you just got a Tesla recently, or you just kind of stepped into the EV world, you don't really. Forgive me for suggesting this, but I don't think you appreciate how amazing this map is, because it wasn't that many years ago that who would even think about driving an EV across the country? Who would even driving it to Montana or Wyoming so many places? And now you look at this map and you're like, where do you want to go?
Yeah, exactly.
Granted, you can't go to North Dakota, but forgive me, North Dakotans.
But actually, you will be able to. They do have a route that's planned through North Dakota, as well as the bottom of Canada as well. So it's all coming. So kudos to them. And you can see the blue dots on the map. That signifies ones that have been permitted but have not started construction.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's amazing to me. How awesome is that you can go anywhere you want?
Mm-hmm.
And again, just a few short years ago, it was like, oh, well, they're great, but you can't. I remember What Drives Us episode where Chelsea and I were like, the point isn't even about driving anywhere. The point is that, you drive locally.
Right.
Driving across the country. And she's like, that just misses the point. I'm like, no, actually right now, it totally is the point. That whatever, get in your car and go.
Exactly.
You can do it.
Yep. Well, okay. On to the next. We had
for you, Mark.
We had a link that was just set up recently and was reported by Tesla Vardy, and they were able to come up with a spy shot of the semi truck from Tesla.
The alleged.
That's what they're saying. They believe it is. And you can see from the photo, this one's blown up. That's why it is a little bit grainy. But the front of the truck that's in the picture of question here certainly does look like the promo flyer or photo that Tesla did release. And if we go down in the article a little bit, you can see the actual scale of the picture that was taken here. And you'll notice that on the ground behind it is a top fairing that would typically go right onto the top of the semi. And then, of course, we have below that the promo that came from Tesla.
So the question is this actually a spy shot of the semi, or is this a picture of the model they used to take the promo?
I didn't think of it that way. But
mind blown.
that is possible. But I would think, since we are approaching the end of October, where the unveil is going to happen, that I don't imagine they have too many of them lying around, whether it be the model or the full working version that they're going to test out.
Right.
I wouldn't think there's a lot of them around. So I guess it could go either way. But it was interesting that this location apparently is where some Tesla cars get tested. So having this show up out there just kind of lends even a little bit more credibility that this certainly could be the semi that is going to be unveiled at the end of the month.
All right, follow-up question. Who sits outside an airport in the middle of nowhere waiting for something like this?
The guys that couldn't get the gig in Fremont for the Model 3.
How bored do
and
wow.
You're Tesla. Okay, you're Tesla Motors. You're not, you have some resources. You don't know where to get a big tarp?
Maybe there was a tarp on it and they took it off. I don't know. But, or maybe this is just, could this just be a leak that they let happen?
Yeah. Well, we've said that many times. Yeah, Tesla doesn't make those kind of mistakes.
Well,
they don't market. Their marketing is done through the press. I mean, they get so much free press. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
If they really wanted to road test a prototype, a mule, whatever, they could easily do it the entire width of the state of North Dakota, because nobody expects a Tesla in North Dakota.
Well, and why are they leaving it on I just don't like, why is it sitting on the back of an open trailer?
Yeah.
That makes zero sense. Unless, of course, you're hoping that somebody's going to snap a spy picture.
Right.
Post it, and, it just...
It's not even covered in the optical illusion spy photo mule camouflage.
Yeah. Right. It's probably hard. They probably couldn't get enough of that stuff. The thing's so big.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, this is, but certainly if you look at the front of this and you look at the front of this, you can see the bump here. You can see the bump here.
Mm-hmm.
Like this, it's pretty close. It's a pretty close match.
Wow.
To the model that was used in the promo.
Yep. So maybe it is
That's
the
all I'm
model.
saying. That's all I'm saying. You know, there
Yeah.
might be a reason why it looks just like the truck in the promo picture. Maybe it is,
It is.
the truck in the promo picture.
Yeah. Yeah. So take a look on the website, check it out, see if you believe it's the model or the real thing.
Right. There you go. Thank you, Mark.
And this is going to be unveiled. What was it? The 26th? Is that correct?
26th or 24th, I believe. Could be wrong, but it's around there.
Yeah, for some reason I'm thinking 26.
Yeah, it says in the article the semi event on the 26th. What time? Do we know a time on that?
It's probably similar to the other ones, so it'll be like
Midnight Pacific.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, maybe.
yeah, before it starts, you know.
Yeah.
You know, at 12:45, do 10 minutes. Thank you. Good night.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. Yeah, and we will look as dumbfounded as we did at the Model 3.
Yeah.
Is that it? Did he just leave?
I think where Tony's going with this, though, is it's safe to say that on the 26th there'll probably be a live stream.
There just might be. We might just have a
Talk about it and compare the spy photo. And
you know, I really hope that Elon compares the 0 to 60 time of the Tesla truck to other semi trucks and does it on stage. That would be awesome. There's nothing more exciting than that.
So you think like maybe the Faraday Future, they'll bring up a Peterbilt and a Freightliner, and they'll have them race, and,
right.
And then the Tesla semi
Not
will
a real race, just one
blow
at a
its doors off. Yes.
so that you have no real comparison. Exactly.
oh, that's so horrible. So completely awful. I don't even know what to say. Well, Mark, let's talk about some stuff from the Tesla financial call. I think you have some news there.
Yes, as happened, the quarter ended just the other day, and the numbers for the Model S and the X were above what they had anticipated. But I guess the real story was about the Model 3 and the numbers that they were supposed to hit, or what their guidance was 1,500 Model 3s. And the actual number that came in was first reported as 230 and then got bumped to 260. So 260 compared to 1,500.
So close.
It was just off by a hair. But as we've known, Tesla, well, Elon himself has indicated that there was going to be production hell, and obviously they're experiencing some of it. The stock price took an immediate dip after the next morning, just for a little bit, and now over the past day or two, it started to trend upwards again. So it doesn't look like investors are too concerned that the car did not hit the initial guidance numbers that the first quarter that was laid out for the first quarter. So I guess people are maybe looking at it from the side of things that they have to make the car correct, that everything has to be in working order before they get it to clients, as opposed to testing it out by, putting out numbers and having to do recalls. So it would probably make more sense to get it right the first time, as opposed to having to be called back, and that would be a bit of a PR nightmare if things were having to be called back after they left the factory.
Well, and excuse me, let me jump in here if I may, and make a theory that cars are being called back. There are problems, but the reason it's not a PR nightmare is all the owners right now are employees and they're under NDA. And I'm not even saying that's a bad thing. I mean, this is how they're refining the production stuff so that when they start producing consumer vehicles, they don't have those problems. Is that a reasonable interpretation?
No, it's certainly something that makes complete sense. Why don't you flick the camera so we could watch you make your point?
Yeah, Mark's been presenting for the last.
Oh, has he?
Feels like the last day, but
Right.
Mark's so good looking, though. You know what I mean?
no, it's something that certainly is makes sense that is where it's heading. But you also have all these owners out here, or potential owners, that are just chomping at the bit to get a hold of this car. And of course, seeing numbers that are lower than expected may, push delivery dates a little further out, which nobody wants to see. But on the other hand, do you want to get a car that is not right when you get it?
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I mean, I don't think anybody who's got one of these things on order is like, oh, I'll take a piece of crap.
Yeah.
I want something that I'm going to have to go back and have repaired several times. I mean, I'm sure there's somebody out there that's that much of an idiot, but I mean, I get it. And I don't even think that I think this is a good process. I think the downside is that Elon maybe was a little too braggy about how this was all going to play out. Rather than the classic under promise, over deliver, Elon did the classic Elon thing, which is over promise and kind of under deliver.
Yeah.
Over promise and pray, I think. Yeah. I mean, to your point, the old adage is, expect the best, plan for the worst. And he definitely projected the best and never looked back.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
He and of course in the lead up to this, he did show a graphic a few times about what he calls the S curve, as to how production will ramp, and when that S curve starts, he was clear that he doesn't really know. He put out some guidance that he had to, and he was optimistic on that. But they've been looking at suppliers and what has to happen, but he's still confident that those numbers are going to start to hit, and that S curve is going to start to go sky high. So, I guess everyone's going to sit back and wait another quarter and see what kind of things happen based on the number of models that have been pushed out. Now, it is interesting that Tesla has to, I guess, all automakers have to register VIN numbers with the National Transportation Safety Board, or an agency that keeps track of them. And Tesla did register over 1,100 vehicles in the first quarter. So I don't know where those numbers are. I don't know if those are partially, test cars, or what that number would entail, because only 260 have been delivered to people. But there was an 1,143 figure that was released through some media outlets during the week.
That they had registered 1,100 models?
Yeah, I don't know the process. Do they register them up front?
Then that story did come out about earlier in this week. So I'm not sure if that was related to end of quarter. I'm not sure when those numbers actually came out, but a media outlet reported on it earlier this week.
Wow.
And if you were on our Twitter feed, which happens to be at The Tesla Life, you would have saw that story, as well as our Facebook feed. I don't know how that tied in, but I tried.
That's nice. No, that was
done.
Nicely done. Yeah, absolutely. Nicely done. Well, I think I don't want to say we beat this to death, but we beat this to death. You know what I mean? Like until something changes, it is. They're working on whether you want to call it production hell or just the way the auto business works. They're working on ramping up production so that the vehicles that come out at the end of the line are as near perfect as they can be, and clearly they're not right now. So okay.
So I don't blame them for holding off.
Yeah, no, I mean, definitely not dumping these things into the consumer marketplace is the right idea.
Right. It certainly is the lesser of two evils, is to make sure it's right first.
Absolutely. I just, it's, I guess, you know what, at some point I kind of want to hear like mea culpa from Elon, like, okay, I was a little crazy. Like, you're not going to ship 15 million Model 3s in 2017. Okay, cool. That's fine.
Yeah.
I get it. We didn't think you would anyway, but
Yeah.
tried, and what the heck?
But we loved hearing that you thought you would on the air. Yes.
It's the mass populace just giving him a pat on the head. Yeah. Okay, Elon. Okay.
Well, speaking of patience and Elon, I think Tony has a story that takes in both those things.
Well, yeah, I actually, when I sent this email to the guys, I said, it's not that I understand how any of this works. So I actually tried to research some of this. And what I'm looking at is from Business Insider. It's the traders who have been betting against Tesla, who've been shorting Tesla stock, are finally making a profit. And according to them, through Monday, investors had made $72 million over a 2-week period. And let me show you here.
I'm sorry, I just love this picture of Elon.
Yeah.
Page for you, Tony?
Say what?
You wanted to see?
No, the chart that I put up.
Oh, sorry. I'm going to get off.
So this is the chart. It's a 1 month the stock of Tesla over the last month. And so you can see starting September 15th or something, it peaked just above 380, and then it dropped down to about 340. It's now showing 355 according to this. So according to the article, it's situations like this where people who are shorting Tesla stock, where they start celebrating because they start making money on this when the stock goes down.
Right.
I had to do some research because I don't fully understand how you short stock, and I still don't. But here's what I learned. Apparently, if you borrow, now you're not buying stock. Apparently, you can borrow stock at, let's say, 380. And so let's say you borrow 1 share of stock at 380. You have a virtual you're sitting on virtually $3.80. And then you turn around and you sell that stock. Now you've made $3.80 because you borrowed it in order to make money.
Yeah.
And wait, yeah.
You just said the same numbers twice, right? You bought it at 380.
No, you borrowed it. You borrow it at 380 and you sell it. So you've made 380. So you've made $3.80 because you borrowed something and then you sold it.
Right.
And then what you do is you come down at 340 and you buy it back.
So that's where you pay off your debt, is you're buying it back at the lower price.
You're buying it back and you're saying, here's your share back. I don't need it anymore. And you pocket the $40 difference.
Okay.
Do this 15 million times and it adds up.
Exactly. I mean, that's the thing. People who are shorting stock like this, they're not borrowing 1, they're borrowing 10,000 or 100,000. And the $40 that they make here is, turns into $1 million plus just in, a couple of weeks of stock dropping. Now, the funny part is some of these people are in for the long haul. So down here at 200, they were borrowing in order to short. And then it comes up to, almost 300. Well, they're not buying it back at 300. And then it comes up to, 370. And so this is where people have been freaking out because they've been trying to short it, but the price just keeps going up. But you could see here between June 23rd and July 6th, someone could have made a whole lot of money borrowing at 383 and then buying it back at 308. So it's my understanding that this is how shorting works. And I'm sure I am not doing a very good job of explaining it because I don't fully understand it, but whatever. But according to this article, this is where some of these people are actually celebrating the fact that Tesla's stock is slipping in the market. But then to get back to Mark's point, to come back at, even in the last 5 days, it's gone back up and it's leveling out again. So
it's still in a trajectory, isn't it? It's still going up, like
yes.
overall.
Yeah. In fact, you know what? I'm going to share this chart again, because to that point, I picked the max, and I see that for 3 years, it was down here below 50, below 40, in fact, for 3 years. And I got a little, sick to my stomach. I almost threw up.
Yeah.
Thinking of how much we talked about Tesla, how much we talked about Tesla's stock, about how much we projected this company was going to grow and what an amazing thing it was going to do. How many shares between the three of us have we purchased?
Yeah.
All right. Right.
Enough said. I think I just threw up in my mouth. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. I know.
I think the only shareholder on the show is Evan.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Which probably explains why he has 2 Teslas and 2 more on order.
Right. But yeah,
you think there might be a correlation to that?
There's some sort of investing
maybe.
action versus the ability to buy the
Mhm. Yeah.
Oh man.
So that's it. We always laugh at the people who always like try to bet against Tesla. No, the stock's going to slip and it's going to fall. But yeah, it's still on one hell of a trajectory. And even though it bobs up and down from time to time, the overall trend is that it is going up and to the right.
Yeah. And I mean, historically, betting against Tesla is not a good bet.
Yeah.
I wonder how many of these people that have made money in the last couple of weeks, I wonder what their previous losses were.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the one thing that no one kind of really, like, if you owned X number of shares, what did you lose in the 6 months prior to that 2 weeks? If you lost 200 million, well, yay for making 160, but you're still a loser.
Right.
Yeah, so a roller coaster stock is something great for people that are shorting stock. They
absolutely
love to see the bumps, the ups and the downs. It makes it easier for them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let me just say one more time, that Business Insider HTML page has got to be one of the most horrendous offenses against mankind ever in the history of the planet. No.
Yeah, won't argue with you there.
Thank you. And on that note, let's go to something a little more exciting and positive. Let's go to Mark.
Yes, the Elon, who obviously has multiple hours to burn in a day because he's not doing anything, obviously, was in Australia. I believe he was there for the opening of the dedication of the new battery pack that they've put in Australia. Happened to swing by the IAC, which is the International Astronautical Congress, and decided that he would give a speech about how we should colonize other planets.
Yeah, why not?
Because he wasn't doing anything. His mind wasn't occupied at the time. Again, this guy's amazing. We're going to put up a link for a YouTube video. It lasts about 43 minutes. I would suggest everyone watch it. It's extremely interesting. And it's amazing with what Elon has decided to do. He, with, of course, SpaceX, have been launching Falcon rockets. They've been contracted by NASA to supply the space station with supplies, and recently have been contracted to use other Falcon rockets to actually bring astronauts to the International Space Station and back as well. And of course, unless you've been living under a rock, you have been seeing these remarkable feats of rockets being launched and first stages broken off, and then come back down to Earth and land themselves either on a barge or on the land, basically allowing SpaceX to have reusable rockets and save themselves a boatload of money without shuttling these these stages off into the ocean for a slow sinking into the ocean. So his next plan, which he unveils in this video, he talks about the Falcon 1, which you can see on the screen here. He talks about the Falcon 9, the size and the payload it can bring. And he came to the realization that if we want to go beyond being a single planetary species, that we need a much bigger rocket. So he even showed about the Falcon Heavy, which happens to be a Falcon 9 with 2 extra rockets on the side of it. And then he unveiled the big one, which they've codenamed the let me get this right, BFR.
Oh, no.
Of course.
Yes, exactly. That's what they've coded. Now, of course, they're saying that the F stands for Falcon.
Yeah, sure.
It's a big Falcon. Now that's a big Falcon rocket.
Now that is a big Falcon. And we've got it on screen now where you can see that this is a much bigger rocket than what they've had previously.
Yeah, Falcon 1, Falcon 9, Falcon 9 Heavy, and the BFR.
Yes, and what's really interesting is the reusable levels, which just showed up and then disappeared. But the BFR will almost be completely reusable. All stages will come back to Earth and land on their own, and they will be able to piece the rocket back together, recondition it, and send it again. So Elon's plan is to mothball the Falcon, the current Falcon rockets, and put all the resources of SpaceX into making these rockets, these BFRs, and using them for all purposes, going up to bringing astronauts and supplies to the International Space Station, launching other people's satellites, collecting satellites and space debris from orbit, and ultimately building a moon base and sending people to Mars to start a colony, which was just shocking. Like, it's an amazing video. I suggest everyone watch it. I can't suggest it enough. It was just shocking. I had my mouth open and watch it. I was like, I can't believe the jumps he's making. I should know this by now from watching Elon for years. And as we said, he's over optimistic on numbers and things of that nature. But he is planning on sending a couple of missions to Mars by 2022. Like, we got some car companies that can't come out with an electric car before then. And he is going to put men on Mars and start building a colony.
But you know where they have more electric vehicles than humans?
On Mars.
Mars, yeah, right. So it only makes sense that Elon would go to Mars.
So it's like no humans and 2 or 3 electric vehicles roaming the surface.
Exactly,
yes.
exactly.
Yes. So, and then at the end of the presentation, if that wasn't enough, he said, what else could we do with these rockets? What else could we use them for? And he talked about using them for interplanetary travel. So we can now travel to the other side of the Earth with these rockets. And that a trip from, say, New York to Singapore would take in the order of like 24 minutes. And you could get from anywhere on the planet to anywhere else in under an hour, in most cases under half an hour. So just, again, unbelievable, and inspiring, I would say.
So I haven't watched the video, but you had said that it would be 100% reusable, that every part of it would come back to Earth and be reused.
Well, certainly all the major parts. I mean, like, they did mention that the BFR is going to have a heat shield, kind of like the shuttle had.
Okay.
When it's re-entering, that heat shield would partially melt away and would have to be replaced at certain points of time. But all the major components would be reusable. So the first and second stage would come back to Earth and land to be reconditioned and used again.
And then the top part where the people are.
Yeah.
I'm assuming there's people. Does that stay on Mars or does that come back?
No, it's coming back. They're going to send two rockets to Mars in 2022, and they will be tasked with finding the best source of water. And then with that, they will start to build the base, and that base will contain the ability to create rocket fuel for the trip home.
Okay, because I was thinking that it would make sense to build the, for lack of a better word, the habitat portion of the rocket, land that, and that be the shelter. I mean,
and I think in the first two launches, those will be the shelters.
Okay,
absolutely.
Yeah, you'd live in your car basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
They say that the BFR will be able to, house on a typical mission, I believe it was 100 people.
Wow.
They're going to have 40 crew quarters that would, comfortably fit 2 to 3 people. Although he said that you could fit 5. And then there was a common space and a solar radiation shelter built in, and an entertainment area within the crew cabin as well. And if you don't know this, the Earth and Mars, of course, are on different rotations around the sun. And every 2 years comes a point where you've got the ability to launch a mission to get there. And the timetable is somewhere between 3 and 6 months, depending on what rotation schedule we're on. But every 2 years, you can send something out. So at close to the end of the video, he does go into the details of how many rockets would be used and the refueling that has to be done, and it's remarkable.
Yeah. Wow. Super
what
cool.
What do you think, Russell? Did you have a chance to review some of it?
I did not. I mean, other than while the show was going on, and it's amazing. I mean, his whole anywhere on the planet in less than an hour, plan it's audacious, and I respect that. It's I like somebody with a vision, even though I think sometimes Elon messes up. I think the Boring Company is completely ridiculous. The way he's suggesting it's completely ridiculous. It's not a bad. Some parts of that idea have a lot of merit, but I think what he's talking about is kind of silly.
I think if he used the Boring Company to build hyperloops, then that would be awesome. I think if you hyperlooped underground.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know. I don't want to get into this on that show, on this show, but it's but I love the idea that he has this vision for SpaceX, and that it involves reuse. It involves some kind of slightly more sustainable space program than what we've seen. That's no knock at NASA. NASA wasn't trying to do that. That's SpaceX's thing. That's what they're doing, is trying to make it commercially feasible. So good for him. I mean, if he can do it, I'm all for it. Why not?
And there's a really cool graphic in the video too that shows all the space vehicles that have been created over time, the major space vehicles leading up to the Saturn V that put man on the moon. And the BFR, of course, it beats it in all categories. But yet, you look at the cost of launching the BFR, and it is the cheapest amongst any space vehicle ever produced. So yeah, they're cutting those costs, and the reusable factor is a huge way to cut into those costs, so that really all they're having to do is pay for reconditioning and the cost of propellant to get that vehicle into space over and over again.
And if nothing else, forgive me for bringing it up this way, the idea that making a standard operating practice of reusing things, that's a very good thing to do.
Yeah, of course.
You know what I mean? So again, cheers to him for that. That's amazing.
Yeah. So not only can you recycle your pop can, but you got to recycle your rocket.
Recycle your rocket. Just
Yeah.
Yeah, so go watch the video. Have a good 43 minutes run through. It's fantastic.
There you go.
I'm going to start watching it now.
Yeah, that's it. Well,
I wasn't talking to you, Tony.
yeah, not you, Tony.
Okay.
You can start after the show.
That's all we got this week. Lots of good stuff. Let's do some shout outs and go home, gentlemen. Tony, can I give it to you first?
Sure.
Thank you.
I want to give a shout out to all of our sponsors, and that's it. Yeah. No, I want to give a shout out to some of my favorite people, Peter Sagal and Paula Poundstone. I was listening to NPR on the way home, so yeah, I got nothing.
Wow, you definitely have nothing, sir.
I could have told you that. I know, right? Okay. I'm still reeling at the fact that, you know, I could have bought Tesla stock at $50.
At $50, right?
And I could have just like kept buying month after month after month, and you know.
Yeah, hindsight is wonderful, isn't it? It's
my God!
just
Yeah.
great. So we've got to work on a time machine. That's how we will get rich.
I'm gonna dedicate the rest of my life to a time machine, and clearly I failed because I wouldn't be here talking about it if I had succeeded.
Or are you being clever and disguising it so you don't get offed?
I'm not that clever.
Well, I'll take over. We have the Twitter feed and the Facebook feed if you'd like to follow what's going on between shows. Twitter is at The Tesla Life, and our Facebook is The Tesla Life #1, numeral 1.
Wow.
So please follow us there. Or if you would like, you can also follow us on our YouTube channel, subscribe, and you will get alerted when the show starts automatically.
So, awesome. Well, thank you, Mark, for that. As always, I want to thank Lee Moon for our theme music. Lee wrote it, performed it, and gave it to us, and lets us use it for the theme. So thank you very much for that. Thanks to all of you watching and listening. And my shout out is to this little girl who I lost today.
Oh.
And I'll miss her a lot.
Yep.
So that's it. Thanks a lot. Tune in next week, and we will see you discovering what's going on in the exciting world of the Tesla Life.